Good day everyone, so before we begin, do check out my Reddit post, which is a follow-up to the previous video on the channel. I think you'll enjoy it. So what do I have cooking for us today? Well, we are going to be looking at a C6R5 Triple Crown Kokomi versus a C6R5 Triple Crown Sigewinne, and I want to compare which one of these two characters, keeping everything else constant, is going to give us the highest score here in the Similanka combat event. I like this event because it's score based. You can see how the rotations are going to play out over time, and this will give us a bit of a better sense for how the team operates. What you'll notice about both teams is that there is a bit of a cycle or a rotation we're going to keep on playing through, and you'll notice that I'll try and do things in the exact same order for both of the teams so that we just can compare like the raw damage output from Kokomi versus like Sigewinne. And this is where I think we can start making a couple of observations. You'll notice here in the background that obviously Yelan's got a bit of a nuke. We use the nuke, and when it's Kokomi's turn, she does very good single target damage with obviously the Yelan damage ramp, Farina buff, the Kazuha buff, and that is generally going to be how Kokomi does everything. She's not going to take the full field time, so she's going to be roughly on the field for about 6.5 or like 7 seconds before we then swap to Farina. So everything here has been more or less like timed to be as precise as possible, but this is where I think Kokomi definitely starts lagging. So the first problem that you'll notice is that Kokomi is primarily doing single target damage with her fish, which is a bit of a problem because we've got multiple enemies. But even if we had a single target enemy, you effectively only have like 22 to 30k hits or like on your like fish that come out, and that damage in and of itself with all of the buffs active is just not enough to keep pace with Sigewinne's damage, which I'll show you in a bit. Effectively, we should really start asking the question of whether it was fair for Hoyo to remove Kokomi's ability to crit just for that extra bit of a healing bonus. It's now 2024, and I think whilst Kokomi, when she came out, didn't need the ability to crit, even at C6, certainly with the amount of DPS increases and the DPS ceiling going higher and higher in the Abyss, it might actually be a good thing to revise now, because I think now it really starts hampering the damage that you get from the character. I mean, you can see here in the background, Sigewinne does more damage than Yelan and Farina. It's just like, even in the AoE, she is just absolutely absurd. So whilst Yelan can nuke very, very quickly, this consistent throughput from Sigewinne is just so incredible, and she hits enemies behind her in an AoE, which is also really, really bizarre. So the question is, you've got two healers. Both of these healers can keep the party relatively healed, so on the healing aspect they're pretty much equal, but Sigewinne herself has a Hydro Shield, the first in the game. She stretched the opponent's Hydro resistance provided the bubble can hit the enemy, so that's not always a guarantee, but effectively she's got like stagger immunity, she's got a shield which can help in certain cases, and she's got a burst which fits very comfortably in the rotation timing window here. And if I have to play Kokomi with that same timing window, I'm just obviously getting a lot less in terms of my DPS, and you'll also see this with the scores reflecting the differences. So at this point we've passed what Team Kokomi can do, and this is the point. Like, with the fact that you have to pay the exact same amount for Sigewinne and Kokomi at C6, provided you really like the characters and you want to do this like I'm doing, it certainly is remarkable how different they are. So whilst Kokomi is a very complete and solid, reliable unit at C0, we definitely see that Sigewinne definitely lags that, but Sigewinne herself comes into her own at C6, and we also need to remember she buffs Farina's damage even more, which it's not non-negligible. In these cases, that extra bit of like a damage throughput can just help you get to breakpoints faster, which just means your overall clears will be much better. So what I really have to conclude from this is that at the highest investment ceiling there is power creep with the constellations. C0 Sigewinne, honestly, for me at least, feels like a character that was balanced according to Genshin Impact 1.0, perhaps 2.0 standards at C0. Sigewinne is not a Fontaine balanced character at C0, But this is where I think Hoyo kind of dropped the ball. I would have liked Citroen's Constellations to, if we have to keep fairness here, to have been lower or lower impact, but her base ceiling in terms of what she provides at C0 should have been a bit more, whereas with her Constellation she really starts becoming quite a monster. Like, think about this. This character heals your entire party with an elemental skill. She can trap enemies, she's got a bubble, she reduces hydro resistance, and she is pretty much on par in terms of Nouvelette like damage, except of course she's not going to be as consistent as a C6 Nouvelette, which is just way more broken. But in terms of the numbers that she's putting out, it's crazy. I mean, in the Abyss, if you run an optimal Citroen build, you get to about 16 seconds in the first half, which is crazy because that is just 1 or 2 seconds shy from a C6 Nouvelette like run, which it's absurd what the character can do. In any case, so from my perspective, it's sad that my favorite girl, Kokomi, has been outclassed from a Constellation perspective, but honestly, I do blame that on Hoyo. Hopefully in the future we'll get a character that can buff your characters if they have negative crit rate, or that can reduce the party's crit rate to be negative, and then you get some sort of special buff based on the amount of negative crit rate. So that could be a way to bring Kokomi back. That's certainly what I'm hoping for, but until then, yeah, Citroen is the winner. Thanks so much for watching.